games with more passing touchdowns and a QBR nearly 30 points higher than Lamar in those matchups. New on NFL Live, here's Patrick Mahomes speaking earlier today.
I know that you saw Monday night at the Ravens, but they're a prideful group, man. I don't think they're going to be very happy with the film, and they're going to come out with the mentality of stopping the run. So it'll be a great test for us. And so it'll be able to go up there and be able to run the football and then be able to pass off of it will be important to us. Stay balanced and go up against a team that's going to be as hungry as we are. So it'll be a great football game this weekend.
Yeah, it's not the start KC was hoping for, but Hawk, is there something in this Chiefs offense giving you hope for a turnaround this season?
I like what I've seen from Tyquan Thornton in this offense.
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure things out, right? But he provides an element that this offense is so desperately needed for the last probably 3 years, which is a legitimate deep threat. There was probably 3 different times in that last game that should have been big-time plays. And you've seen it spark throughout the season. But once they get on the same page, which they will, I love this version of it where they reverse the TD call, then the very next play they go back deep to him again. What that gives Patrick Mahomes is when Xavier Worthy comes back, he kind of probably assumes the Hollywood Brown role.
Yep.
And when Rashee Rice comes back, now you have your do-it-everything receiver. And now you have a receiving core that truly gives you weapons and options down the field, intermediate and short, and they could still go score touchdowns in any way he decides. Again, the Chiefs have desperately needed that over the last couple of seasons.
I think they're a bad matchup for the Ravens defense, though. I do, because I think the Ravens defense is built to play coverage. They've got 5 first-round picks. Even though Jair maybe not fully healthy yet or playing up to his standard, they still believe that their coverage unit can go with anyone. So I just think the weakness of this defense is what the Chiefs aren't good at right now and aren't willing to do it. It's just run the football. Now, if you just watch their runs and take Patrick's runs out, the runs that have been successful is at least when they're in the gun, one back power, meaning down block, down block, down block, and you pull that backside guard. I think one of the things is not having their tight ends be a huge part of the run blocking has to be a part of it. So maybe it's a 6th offensive lineman. And then really the under center thing that's been good is what we call split flow, trying to get everybody to flow one way and you cut the backside of the defensive line. Them to win this game, I really think they're going to have to commit to and do well running the football in between the tackles. Those 2 runs would be the way that I would do it. And again, I would implore them. I would entertain bringing a 6th offensive lineman in at times just to maybe help with getting that run started. Because that's not Kelsey's game, and that's not Noah Gray's game.
Yeah. Maybe they can just watch the film from Monday night, because the Lions did exactly what they needed to do to really expose the vulnerability of this Ravens defense right now. With no Nnamdi Madubuike, they are incredibly thin up the middle. And I got to tell you, Monday night, there was some concerning tape from a number of guys that you think of as game changers for the Baltimore defense. How about the Lions on Monday night? They had 207 rushing yards between the tackles in just that game alone. The Ravens have been bad between the numbers, both defending the run, but also in the middle of the field, defending the pass as well. Roquan Smith did not look like the player that we are accustomed to seeing him be on Monday night. If I am the Chiefs, and they don't have the personnel the Lions do, maybe along the offensive line in totality, maybe the running back room, but at least you got to give it a shot, because I just don't think the Chiefs' offensive formula of whatever that was on Sunday night, even in a victory,
I think it's a great opportunity for Kansas City. I really do. I think it's a great opportunity for them to say, we can do this.
Yeah. I wonder if we can.
Because if we do, gosh, then okay, we can get into a better place offensively.
Well, you don't know how long Nnamdi Madubuike is going to be out, but not playing in this game, maybe the next time they see him down the road, they will have him. So maybe it is the chance to do it while this Ravens
defense team to do it against
dealing with some injuries too. All right, Staple, lost in translation. We're going to try to translate some of the more interesting sound bites of the week. Let's go, boys. We're going to start with Andy Reid talking about his heated exchange with Travis Kelce.
He knows when to back off the pedal and knows when to push it too. So that's part I love about him. I mean, the guy's all in. Just sometimes I have to be the policeman.
Is it a play that was bothering you, or was it more trying to get something out of him?
No, he was all in. He was all in. Listen, he's an emotional guy. He's Irish.
I think what he was trying to say, Laura, is like he probably shouldn't have done that and should have done it on the sidelines in public like that. Yeah. But I've been coaching in the NFL for a long time, 25 years as a head coach, and I know enough to downplay it in front of the media so we can try to find a way to squash it, sooner rather than later.
You know what? Squish it, squash it.
Squish it, squash it.
I like that he
lost in translation.
I love all of it, dude. I loved every part of it, man.
We've also had like a heavy Irish presence in this show.
I was going to say, pumping the Ireland game.
Very
smart.
Yeah. Oh, yes, exactly.
Joins us here on Unsportsmanlike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Dan, of course, Dan is so all over the bar mitzvah circuit. Next week, you got pickup duties.
No, I had it this past
Oh, you had
Saturday.
it then.
I always like pickup duty.
Really? It's late, though.
Yeah, not for me.
Oh, God, that stinks for the kids.
Not when I have to do it with my kids.
For the kids.
Yeah. Sometimes when like my kids' friends' moms will volunteer, I'll be like, I got it. Because you guys, you'll go there, you'll go, kids, come on. And they'll be like, can we 20 more minutes? And then 30, 40 minutes later, they finally come out. Me, I'm like, get in the car. All you and your friends. I'm not here to hang out. Like, so usually if it ends at 11, I show up at 10.
That is so bad for the kids. You do not want that.
They'll be fine.
Great idea.
They'll be fine.
Great idea.
They'll be fine.
Finish this sentence for both parties. What happens if the Chiefs fall to 1-3? What happens if the Ravens fall to 1-3?
If the Chiefs fall to 1-3, the real conversation of missing the playoffs becomes very apparent. Because here's the thing, the Chargers are staring at 7-0 in the face. The Chargers' schedule the next 4 games is very gettable. And so for a Chiefs team that's already lost to them and then would be sitting at 1-3, and not only that, you'd be 1-3 and assuming you haven't really done anything well on offense. This is a bottom 3 or bottom 4 offensive rushing unit if you take away Patrick's runs. They're middle of the pack in everything. And I know everyone continues to say Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice. Yes, and those are good players, but it's not going to revitalize their offense. I also would say this, like, if they fall to 1-3, the Broncos are staring at 3-1, the Chargers are staring at 4-0. We're having a very real conversation of, can they really miss the playoffs? With the Ravens, we've seen them play well. Like we've seen them have 2 games against 2 very good opponents and play well, and it'd be a play here, a play there. And so at least the feeling of the football team and their capability gives me a little bit more encouragement. You'd have to see how the game went. It would be a bad loss for them, though. But I feel like must-win wise, it just feels more of a must-win for Kansas City.
Well, it feels like a must-win for the Green Bay Packers going out to Dallas in terms of being able to bounce back after that performance. And I'm curious, Dano, because I made the comment earlier this week. I said that when it comes to the Packers offense, I want the aggressiveness to come from the play caller and not the quarterback. I'm curious to know from your perspective, can you coach a quarterback and an offense to the Super Bowl that way, or do the aggressive plays have to be at the discretion of the signal caller?
Both. You got to have a play caller that's aggressive. You got to have a quarterback that's aggressive.
Okay.
I don't think you could be great at that position, and I don't think you're going to be great in a playoff run if a quarterback's not being aggressive. Now, it's obviously always the fine line of aggression versus recklessness. Like I would say this, Jordan's interception last week was just immaturity. It was ignorance. It was dumb. It wasn't reckless because we've seen like the fadeaway one against the Rams. That's reckless. That pick 6 of last year. Last week was like, dude, what the heck? Do you remember the Josh Allen first game of the year 2 years ago when Aaron Rodgers got hurt?
Yeah.
And they lost to the Jets. Mm-hmm. And I remember watching the game and just being like, Josh, grow up. You like, someone in your building needs you to tell you to grow up. And I felt that same way about that interception last week by Jordan Love. Grow up, Jordan. The only way they lose that game is for him to give the ball to
the only way.
Like the
Browns offense did nothing.
It was 3rd and 3. We're running a play that you should be able to run rolling out of bed, and you throw that interception. And as much as I love him and I picked him as MVP, that's got to be a pivotal moment for him to be like, dude, I can't make that play. I would much rather you try to force a ball on 3rd and 12 in a window between 3 players because you believe you can go cut that ball loose and throw it to the perfect place. I'd much rather have that pick than watching you throw a pick on 3rd and 3 backed up in your own end zone on an inside slant. That, for me, that's a pivotal moment to grow up. I think they boat race the Cowboys as they should. And the Cowboys are staring at a top 5 pick.
Yeah, Cece said that they're definitely looking at a high pick this year. So the Indianapolis Colts, Dan, didn't really expect to see them sitting there at 3-0. They have a big matchup this week versus the Rams. Yeah. What are you seeing out of Daniel Jones, and is it sustainable?
Is it sustainable is the most important question because the empirical data of Daniel Jones says no. But what we've seen out of the last 3 weeks, you hope for and you're encouraged by. The one thing that has changed is he has been historically very bad under pressure. And that was his case at Duke. And I remember the morning after the Giants drafted him doing a breakdown and being like this, when he has pressure, bad things happen decision-making wise. And that was the story of his career with the Giants. And right now, that's the thing that's changed. He's been remarkable under pressure. And so, we've all talked about really good offensive line. Shane Steichen's play calling has, been highlighted. They've got a plethora of people to throw the ball to. But really, it's Daniel Jones becoming player-wise something he's never done before. Is it sustainable is a question again, the evidence of the past tells me at some point he's going to revert back to that. Mm-hmm. But until he does, it's going to continue to be the narrative. And I would say the heavyweight fight this weekend is that game. I know everyone says Ravens, Chiefs. That's the heavyweight fight because I look at it this: the Colts could be 4-0 and running away with that division. It feels like, and he would be very much so at the top of the MVP list. And the Rams. In that division, you can't fall that far behind because tonight someone's going to be sitting at 3-1 in that division, and so that's a heavyweight battle.
Dan Orlovsky, ESPN NFL analyst, to see him on Get Up and for Tate today. I just want to make sure I'm clear. You said if the Rams lose to the Colts this week, and the Colts obviously win that game, Daniel Jones should be the top of the MVP.
Oh, very much so. You would have because
more than Justin Herbert, more than Josh Allen.
Oh God, yeah.
That's
Daniel Jones would have the Colts at 4-0. Absolutely more. Justin's up there. Baker's got to be up there. McCaffrey's got to be up there. But if the Colts win and he plays the way that he has played and they're 4-0, he's going to be at the very top of the MVP list. Absolutely.
Wow. Let me follow up on one thing you just said. You brought up Baker. That's where I wanted to go next. It feels like the last few years his peers have been Geno Smith and Sam Darnold. Who should his peers be considered?
Oh, his peers should be Jared Goff. His peers should be Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield. I'm saying Baker, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Daniel Jones. I think there's a group of quarterbacks that are playing at a different level than everybody else. I actually have it right here. So I sent out a tweet the other day about it saying this group of quarterbacks right now is playing at a different level than everybody else. Goff is in there. So the group it's Baker, Mahomes, Herbert, Daniel Jones, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Lamar, and Goff. That's the group right now that's playing at a different level than everybody else. Yeah. So Baker's got to be in that group. I know he's not Patrick, and I know he's not Justin as far as the physical talent. He's not Lamar and Josh Allen, and he hasn't accomplished what Jalen Hurts has. But he's playing in the same capacity. The production's the same way. The end result is the same.
Talking to ESPN NFL analyst Dan Orlovsky on Unsportsmanlike. And Dano, my Giants made the decision to bench Russell Wilson and turn it over to Jackson Dart. How did the decision land with you, and what should we expect to see different from that Giants offense now that number 6 is under center?
Yeah, this is worst case scenario for the Giants and for Jackson. When they drafted him, it was like, okay, we got Russell. Hopefully they can be competitive and stay afloat till November. Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen can keep their jobs somewhat safe and then turn over to Jackson Dart. And now we're playing bad. The offense stinks. And it's, hey, go save it. Go be the savior. Go save everybody's job. Go save the organization. We don't have a lot of evidence that this move works out well for the coach. We just don't. If you think Will Levis and Mike Vrabel, Jared Goff and Jeff Fisher, this often doesn't happen well. And so, that's my concern. How's the offense? One, they need juice, they need energy, they need athleticism. They don't throw the ball in the middle of the field because Russell doesn't throw the ball to the middle of the field. Malik Neighbors doesn't have a wide receiver screen, which blows my mind. Blows my mind. They got to get him moving horizontal. He's great in the pocket. He's super strong, so hope that helps a underperforming offensive line. I'm a big fan of the kid. This schedule is brutal. So realistically, he's got 14 games left, right?
Yeah.
Can they get to 5-7 in those 5-9 in those 14 games? And then maybe it just feels like an unrealistic hope.
I was surprised that they threw him out there versus the Chargers and not wait a week versus the Saints. I felt like it's a softer place to land for him.
Yeah, my assumption, Wink, is that they probably had the same thought as you, but there was no other move left.
You can't sell it to the locker room when the quarterback throws the ball out of the back of the end zone.
And that's why it's a bad situation. And hopefully he gets his first start jitters out, and then has a little bit more success or the chance for it against the lesser defense.
Yeah.
And we don't have time for this, but this has been a huge debate over the last week. They do have another option. They signed Jameis.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't want Russ, then just go to Jameis if you think you're going to ruin him. And I'm not saying they're going to, but
I don't think they think they're going to ruin him.
Right,
I think
but you
that they've been no. I think that I know that what the situation can feel like. I don't think they can. I always say ruining the quarterback is about what here is for him and how thick his skin is and how tough his mind is. More so than is he capable or talented enough.
Understood. Dan Orlovsky, ESPN NFL analyst. You'll see him on Get Up, First Take as well. Always getting the job done, just like Rangers.
Oh, yes.
Xavier Worthy, Sunday in a big game against the Baltimore Ravens. Worthy went down early in the season, third play of the season, friendly fire with Travis Kelce, back in practice at full yesterday. And if he's listed in full on Wednesday, that tells you that he is tracking to play on Sunday against the Baltimore Ravens. The Chiefs offense could use more explosives, and it looks like they'll have that on Sunday in the form of Xavier Worthy.
All right, Shefty, that feels critical as we look ahead to this matchup between these two superstar quarterbacks. And the history here is impossible to ignore. Lamar Jackson 1-5 against Mahomes in his career. And you see the numbers when they have met. Mahomes averaging nearly 3 touchdown passes per game on a 17% better completion percentage. Here are both quarterbacks ahead of the showdown.
Yeah, I think for us, we got to start faster. I think every game we've kind of said that we haven't really got to do that. And we were moving the ball early in the game last week, but we're settling with field goals. And when you play teams that are really good and have dynamic quarterbacks like the Ravens do, you got to turn those into touchdowns.
I don't really care about what happened in the past. I'd be mad about the situation. Don't get me wrong when it happens, but we got to get ready for Chiefs. We can't dwell on old history. We got to worry about what's going on now.
Okay, so the quarterbacks are ready to go, Dan. Both teams at 1-2, so the loser obviously falls to 1-3. It feels to me like this game is much more important to one team than the other. Which team do you think needs it?
It's Kansas City. It's a must-win for Kansas City. Staring at 1-3, also the Chargers, who have beaten them, have 3 divisional wins, and the Chargers are staring 7-0 in the face. The Chargers play at the Commanders, or at the Giants. They're going to win that game. Then they play the Commanders. Maybe. We'll see if they have Jaden Daniels or not. Then they're playing at Miami, who's struggling to figure out a way to get a win. Obviously, the Colts matchup is going to be a big one. So if you're the Chiefs and if they lose this game, we're having a realistic conversation for the first time ever under Patrick. Is like, are they going to be out of the playoffs? That's how much this game matters to them. Not only they got to play better, but they have to win this football game to stay in the conversation.
I disagree. I think the pressure is more on the Baltimore Ravens, not because, to your point, the situation for the Chiefs isn't harder than the road for the Ravens to get there, but at the same time, the Chiefs are who we think they are. They're down their 1-2 option for the majority of the season. Any other team would be like, 0-3 makes sense if you lose your 1-2 receiver. The other point is the Baltimore Ravens, for the losses they had, they should have won both games. And on top of that, if you say, all right, who is the better team between the Chiefs and the Ravens? You're going to say the Ravens. So if the Ravens drop this game again, there's serious questions about this team and why they're not winning these games that we feel like they should.
I think the noise gets louder, but when he brought it up with the division. You look at who's in the AFC North. It's the Bengals, it's the Steelers, it's the Browns. The noise is going to get louder around the Ravens, especially because defensively they're not playing very well at all. But you look at the division and the landscape of how you get into the playoffs, you can still sit back and take a breath because their offense is still playing well. It's like take care of the football in crucial situations, but they're still operating very well. Like they'll have more time to figure out. The Chiefs don't. You look at their schedule, they got to play the Lions, Commanders, the Jaguars, Buffalo, Broncos twice, Colts, Chargers again. Yeah. That's where it's a real conversation. The first time ever 1-3 under Patrick Mahomes.
You can only fall so far back if you're Kansas City. I think the divisions do matter to the conversation here. If you're the Ravens, you fall to 1-3, you can look at your division and be like, we still can win this division at 10-7. Yeah. Where the 10-7 won't get the Chiefs into the playoffs, I think, in their division.
Yeah, I think that digging yourself out of a hole from a Chiefs standpoint is much bigger of a climb than the Ravens. And I hate to bring this up because I know this guy's not known for his big brain thoughts, but Rob Gronkowski, week 1, said they were punched in the mouth after that, and they might not know who they are, and I think we're seeing that right now. So shout out Gronk for the bring thought.
Is that what you think is happening with Kansas City? Basically, what I hear Hawk saying is they're playing without Rashee Rice, they're playing without Xavier Worthy. any team would not look like themselves if when they plug those two guys back in, and Schefter makes it sound like Worthy comes back this week. Does that offense get cooking again?
I think it can, but I also think if you looked at the Ravens' defense, they're bottom half in a lot of statistical categories because of who they've played in the two out of the last 3 games.
Right.
They're a
Buffalo
lot
and
better.
Detroit.
Yeah, they're a lot better than people are giving them credit for. I like the Ravens in this game. I think their offense is just more consistent, better at getting more explosives.
Yeah.
Having Xavier is great, but I think that one piece is not going to change.
I also think Baltimore defensively is built to play against the Chiefs offensively. Baltimore's got 5 first-round picks in their secondary. They were built defensively to beat the Bengals and the Chiefs, to defend the pass. That's why they're struggling in part against teams that run the football. Now, Madubuike matters a ton. Their defensive tackle at Baltimore is a big deal. But I just think if you're the Chiefs and you get Xavier Worthy back, and this is an offense right now that is average at best, it's a bottom 3 or 4 offense running the football if you take away Patrick's scrambles, you have to go win this game because I understand Xavier coming back matters and Rashee Rice coming back matter. They're not Jerry Rice and Jawan Taylor, though. It's not going to totally revitalize and reshape the face of their offense. And so while I understand that the Ravens are a more talented football team, the Chiefs falling to 1-3 and consistently playing average football this year, that would be alarming.
I understand what you're saying, and maybe those guys aren't Jerry Rice and Jawan Taylor, but the quarterback is Joe Montana, and the coach is Bill Walsh. I wouldn't bet against them. And there's a couple of different ways to look at it with the Chiefs. They were one weird play away from beating the Eagles. If Kelsey holds on to that ball, that's an entirely different game. They lose a 1-score game to an obviously very good Chargers team in a game that's being played in Brazil under weird circumstances. I don't know. I'm not willing to say I'm as worried about them as the evidence would suggest. I have a feeling they're going to go out and play very well this weekend.
I mean, if not for some heroics against a team that just benched their quarterback, they'd be 0-3.
There's a lot of different ways, I guess you could.
Ants having a new QB this week. And
the other wide receiver in the news is Xavier Worthy. He has not played since suffering a dislocated shoulder right here on the 3rd play of the game in Brazil. Friendly fire from Travis Kelce, but Worthy was a full participant in practice yesterday, which puts him on track to play Sunday's big game against the Baltimore Ravens. The loser of that game will be 1-3. Both sides know the importance of it, and it certainly looks like right now the Chiefs will have back Xavier Worthy to help provide speed and explosiveness.
All the important injury news, getting ready for week 4, Adam Schefter.
The Kansas City Chiefs just dropped a bombshell that's about to tear the fan base apart, and most people haven't even realized what's happening yet. We're talking about a $25 million right tackle who's single-handedly sabotaging drives with penalties, a $15 million backup sitting on the bench doing absolutely nothing, and coaching decisions that have Patrick Mahomes visibly frustrated on national television. But that's just the tip of the iceberg, because what's really going on behind the scenes with this Ravens matchup and the offensive line situation is way more explosive than anyone wants to admit. And when you see the full picture of what Kansas City is dealing with right now, you'll understand why this might be the most crucial week of their entire season. The Jawan Taylor experiment has officially reached a breaking point, and honestly, it's becoming painful to watch at this point. This is his 3rd year starting in Kansas City, and the inconsistencies and penalties have become so predictable that NBC literally had graphics ready to go for his penalties during the last game. Think about that for a second. A major television network is preparing penalty graphics specifically for one player because they know it's going to happen. That's not just embarrassing, that's a systematic problem that's been allowed to fester for way too long. Here are the numbers that will blow your mind. Jawan Taylor has played in 43 career games with the Chiefs and has only managed to avoid penalties in 5 of those games. That's an 88% penalty rate, which is absolutely unprecedented for any NFL player, let alone someone who's supposed to be protecting the franchise quarterback. We're not talking about holding penalties that happen to every offensive lineman. We're talking about the same stupid mistakes over and over again. Illegal formation, lining up offside, false starts. These are mental errors that should have been corrected years ago. The situation came to a boiling point during the recent game where Patrick Mahomes scrambled on 3rd down, got the first down on a huge run, and it came back because Jawan Taylor was holding. You could see the visible frustration on Mahomes' face, and that's when you know things are really bad because Pat rarely shows that kind of emotion publicly. This isn't a guy who gets visibly frustrated unless something is fundamentally broken, and what's broken is the lack of accountability for a player who's been making the same mistakes mistakes for 3 straight years. What makes this entire situation even more maddening is that the Chiefs went out and paid Jalen Moore $15 million per year to essentially sit there and watch this train wreck unfold. I believe this is one of the most puzzling roster management decisions I've seen in years. You don't pay a guy that kind of money to be a spectator, especially when your starter is actively hurting the team with drive-killing penalties week after week. The coaching staff keeps talking about Moore's versatility, saying he can play anywhere on the line, but if he's so versatile and talented, why isn't he getting snaps at right tackle where they desperately need help? Matt Nagy came out after the Eagles game saying they made it loud and clear that the penalties have to stop, but clearly that message isn't getting through because Jawan Taylor committed another penalty in the very next game. It's become a pattern where the coaches make strong statements about accountability, but then nothing actually changes. Najee said, "We made it loud and clear," but did they really? Because the evidence on the field suggests otherwise. If you're really making it loud and clear, then benching should be the next step, not more empty threats. The breaking point conversation is becoming more real every week because even the veteran leaders are losing patience. Travis Kelce was seen getting in Taylor's face, literally cracking him on the head with his helmet, trying to get him to wake up. When your Hall of Fame tight end is that frustrated with a teammate, you know the situation has reached a critical mass. Kelce has been around long enough to know what championship level football looks like, and what he's seeing from the right tackle position clearly doesn't meet that standard. Andy Reid's loyalty to players is usually one of his greatest strengths, but in this case, it might be working against the team. Reid has a history of sticking with guys longer than he probably should, believing in their ability to turn things around even when the evidence suggests otherwise. That player-first mentality is why guys love playing for him, but there comes a point where loyalty to one player starts hurting the other 52 guys on the roster. I think we've reached that point with Jawan Taylor. The most frustrating part is that this isn't a talent issue, it's a discipline issue. Taylor has the physical tools to be an effective right tackle, but he keeps making the same mental errors that have nothing to do with athletic ability. How many more times does he need to line up incorrectly before someone says enough is enough? How many more holding penalties on big plays before the coaching staff admits that talking isn't working and action is needed? What's particularly galling is that the Chiefs have viable alternatives. Jalen Moore isn't just sitting on the bench collecting checks. He's a legitimate NFL player who started games for the 49ers and played well when given the opportunity. The fact that he's getting practice reps at left tackle instead of right tackle makes absolutely no sense when you consider where the real problem lies. I believe Reid and the coaching staff are overthinking this situation when the solution is sitting right in front of them. The other angle that makes this situation even more complex is the financial reality. Taylor is making big money, and there's always reluctance to bench a high-priced player because it feels like admitting a mistake. But sometimes the best business decision is admitting when something isn't working and making a change before it gets worse. The Chiefs will likely cut Taylor after this season anyway to save money, so why not see what Moore can do in the meantime? Moving into what could be an even bigger challenge, this Ravens game represents everything the Chiefs need to get right on both sides of the ball. Both teams are sitting at 1-2, which absolutely nobody saw coming when the season started, and now you're looking at a scenario where both teams desperately need a win. The Ravens are chasing the Pittsburgh Steelers in their division, and the Chiefs can't afford to go 1-3 with the way their schedule sets up. This game has all the makings of a season-defining moment for both organizations. The biggest challenge defensively is containing Lamar Jackson, and this is where the Chiefs absolutely cannot make the same mistake they made against Justin Herbert earlier this season. When Chris Jones crashed down inside and didn't maintain containment, it cost them a chance to win the game. That cannot happen against Jackson, who is even more dangerous than Herbert when he gets outside the pocket. Jackson can burn you from 70 yards out if he gets the right angles, and the Chiefs secondary doesn't have the speed to catch him from behind. The key to stopping Lamar is keeping him in the pocket and making him beat you with his arm rather than his legs. While Jackson is certainly capable of making throws, his most devastating plays come when he escapes containment and gets to the second level. That means guys like George Karlaftis and Chris Jones have to maintain their rush lanes even when they're getting close to a sack. It's a disciplined approach that requires everyone to do their job rather than trying to be the hero. I think the most effective strategy would be using Chamari Connor as a spy because he has better speed and coverage ability than trying to use Leo Chenal or Drew Tranquill in that role. A linebacker spy against Jackson is usually a losing proposition because he's just too fast and too elusive for most linebackers to handle in space. But a safety spy who can match Jackson's speed and has better change of direction could be much much more effective. The Ravens secondary has been struggling recently, which creates opportunities for the Chiefs to exploit. Malachi Starks, Kyle Hamilton, and Marlon Humphrey all had terrible grades last week against the Lions, combining to stop exactly one pass that was thrown their way. That's a significant weakness that the Chiefs should be able to take advantage of, assuming they can keep Jackson from escaping the pocket and extending plays. But it's not just about Jackson. Derrick Henry adds another layer of complexity to this defensive game plan. Henry is still a powerful runner who can control games when he gets going, and his presence makes play action much more dangerous. When defenders start coming downhill, trying to tackle Henry, that's when Jackson can roll out and pick up easy first downs with his legs, or find receivers who have gotten behind overly aggressive safeties. The Chiefs' defense has actually been playing much better after that rough Week 1 performance. They got 2 takeaways against the Giants after having none through the first 2 games, and they've been much more consistent in their tackling and gap discipline. But this Ravens offense presents challenges that they haven't faced yet this season, particularly with the dual threat capability of Jackson and Henry working together. Steve Spagnuolo is going to have to dial up some creative pressure packages while still maintaining containment, which is easier said than done. The good news is that Spags has had success against mobile quarterbacks in the past, and he understands the importance of keeping Jackson in the pocket. The question is whether the Chiefs have the personnel to execute that game plan consistently for 4 quarters. The wide receiver situation adds another layer of complexity to this matchup, especially with Xavier Worthy's injury status creating uncertainty about the Chiefs' deep threat capability. Worthy went down against the Chargers, and his absence was immediately noticeable in terms of the Chiefs' ability to stretch the field vertically. While they don't know the full extent of his injury, it's the type that could linger if not handled properly, and rushing him back too soon could create long-term problems. Honestly, I don't think they should rush Worthy back given the nature of the injury and the potential long-term implications for his career. This isn't a broken bone that heals and you're back to normal. It's the type of injury that can affect range of motion and functionality if it's not allowed to heal properly. The Chiefs need Worthy for the long haul, not just for one game against Baltimore. The encouraging thing is that Tyquan Thornton has been stepping up in a big way, and his development